Okay, shall we begin? Hello and welcome to this very special class on ritual speaking. I am Reverend Cherry, and I will be teaching you today. A little about me. I am finishing my third degree with the Correllian Tradition, the very same tradition that runs Witch School Online. I have been with the tradition since 2004 and have many other lessons under my belt besides the core degree work. As a third degree, we have several class projects we must complete, and one of them is being able to teach public classes. Through the grace of Lady Anna, I was allowed to come and do that myself. The class will be recorded, so please turn off all gestures, spankers, your microphone, and anything that would interrupt. Thank you so much. We have several key points we will be going over today, so make sure you are having the full ability to pay attention. I am hoping to get through all of these points plus an activity. There will be a lot of material to cover throughout the class. If you have any questions, please just write them down at home so you do not forget them and ask at the end. So without further wait, I shall begin. The definition of elocution. Elocution is defined as the art of clear and expressive speech, especially of distinct pronunciation and articulation. Seems easy enough, right? Well, no, it is not. It is the difference between making it or breaking it, and through this class, you will understand what it is and what it is not. Hey. Sorry. And there's your definition of elocution. I forgot I even had the board. My apologies. $100 words. Everyone wants to be seen as highly intelligent. That makes sense. What doesn't make sense is people using words they cannot possibly pronounce or not taking the time to learn how to pronounce those words. We say we shouldn't judge people, but the student who goes to a class and finds that the teacher cannot say the words they are using will certainly they will certainly judge them. So they may not say it to the teacher directly, but they may say it to others they know, other students, maybe on smoke break. The same goes for any form of speaking. If you cannot pronounce a word, find a similar word that you can use. There's no shame in doing so. Why sound like something you are not? If you are not a scholar, then do not use scholarly words. Be comfortable with your own style, make it yours, and make it understandable. Bring it on, strong or gentle. It goes without saying that there are some places you will need to project your voice. Luckily, we are in Second Life and we have a microphone. We must use that consideration in ritual and how we want to approach the gods or spirits. I cannot tell you how many times I've experienced people shouting their invocation of a quarter. Okay? Just like screaming. It isn't necessary. And I'm sure they do not want you demanding or yelling at them, excuse me, to come into our circle. Okay? So something like, "Hey, the Guardians of the West, I invoke you to come to our aid and guide us." No, not so appropriate in a ritual, is it? No, it's not. So, on the flip side of this, There are people that speak with such an unenergetic tone. If someone seems to be so disinterested, will you stay and talk with them? Doubtful. I'm pretty sure you will walk away thinking to yourself, is it me, or was I boring? That would sound something like this. Hail to the guardians of the West. I invoke you to come to our aid and guide us. Seems pretty unenthusiastic, huh? Would you want to go there? If I was the guardian, I wouldn't want to come into your ritual. I'd be like, no, I'm just taking a nap then. Same thing. A better way to go is to find a level of projection that isn't killing everyone's ears and yet has emotion. Louder is not better. It doesn't show authority. It is just, well, loud. You may want to try it this way. Hail to the guardians of the West. I invoke you to come to our aid and guide us. See, it's a little bit more impactful. Do you hear the difference? I mean, you could type a yes if you want or no in chat. That'd be acceptable? Okay. Thank you. Now, I brought up the term authority, and you may be wondering why. Well, in ritual, we must speak with authority, as a wishy-washy questioning will just not do. We cannot possibly manifest based on that sort of demeanor. We must know what we want and make it happen. Remember, your energy is what dictates your outcome. It's your intention. Make it strong, but remember that it is not indicative of shouting in a ritual. Okay. Life in the fast lane. Here, we allot ourselves an hour for ritual, from the beginning to the end. That, however, is not written in stone, as you all have heard, pagan standard time. It's time all unto itself, which means it can run later, longer, never on time. Never, ever on time. I think I might have a handful of those that actually ran on time. However, have you ever been to a ritual or a lecture and had the speaker or ritualist talk at the speed of light? Like, I will never understand why those people are in a rush to say their portion unless they just want to get it over with. It is called a ritual for a reason. And we need to take some time in building the cone of energy and then release it when it is at full capacity. Rushing through anything will produce less than desired results. If someone rushes you through something, how can you possibly get the most out of the experience? Simple. You cannot. Absolutely cannot. Pacing yourself is necessary because the gods or spirits want to feel welcome and your attendees want to feel in the zone. So making your atmosphere relaxed and upbeat when needed is up to you and others facilitating the ritual. So your examples here are, hail to the guardians of the West, I invoke you to come and aid our ritual this night. With love and respect from our hearts, we bid you hail and welcome. See how that brings a connotation of maybe you're being disinterested and not really wanting to do your part. You just I kind of fumbled it, but you get the idea. You just, too fast is, it's like, I just want to get started and I want to turn off the mic and not do anything first. Period. Gives a bad energy. Okay. reading like you are not. Nothing is more ridiculous than seeing people reading papers during a ritual except hearing them read papers. And maybe I should say that again. Let me get a sip. Hopefully I didn't swallow too well. Nothing is more ridiculous than seeing people reading papers during a ritual except hearing them read papers. Does this make sense? Okay, great. You're on a page with me here. As I tell students, knowing your stuff will relieve you of this when in a ritual and calling a quarter. Until then, you must learn to read as if you weren't reading. Now please note, this does not mean you cannot have papers in your ritual. And I know that sounds like that, but that's not what it means. No one could possibly memorize an entire body of work, as they do change all the time. Every time it should change. Even if you have the same quarters, every single time, the rest of the body of work is going to change. So, what you can do to make it sound flowing and not lame? Well, read as though you are not reading, of course. This is a skill, and like other skills, it needs to be practiced over and over. I'm going to actually add some extra over and overs in there, because you cannot possibly become an expert in reading just once or twice. You just have to keep doing it over and over. So, if you read something as though you are not reading it, no, as if you are reading it, say, I'm reading. Can you tell? Absolutely. If you read something as though you are reading it, it's utterly boring and plain demeaning to the attendees. Now, they are not tots in kindergarten, they are adults. And they are depending on us as ritualists to bring them into an altered state of consciousness and feed them the wisdom of the mysteries. And this is what we're doing all the time, right? So how do we do this? We read ahead. We take our time and think really quickly about how this should sound. Let me give you an example again. This time, you can decide which is my reading and which is not my reading. Okay, here we go. It is the main function of the ritualist to sound as though they are not reading from a book, because it is very important. It is truly possible to read with an expression and yet not sound like you are. And there's this one. There are not enough words to express how happy I am that you are here today. And it gives me a warm and fuzzy feeling and tickles me pink to have you join us tonight. We hope that you will enjoy the ritual time together with us. Anybody got some clues here? Which one was a reading and which one wasn't? Okay, cool. I hope you can feel the difference in those examples. Let's see. Actually, the truth is I was reading both times from my prepared notes, and I changed the way I read them. Yes, I know it was a trick question, but it was necessary. I hope you will forgive my playfulness, but I really just wanted to bring the point across. So, it's all about your tone. Fair enough, Artemony. I have had a lot of practice. Okay. Our next portion is called Jumping In. No one can possibly remember everything, and we get that. It is suggested that you memorize at least the characteristics of each glitter, or one basic call of quarters, because you never know when you're going to be asked to jump into ritual. And let me tell you, you could go to a new sim and they'll still ask you to jump in for a quarter call. And in the beginning, you're going to freak out. Now, this isn't in my notes, but it's true. You're going to freak out. You're going to be like, God, I got to call a quarter. I've never, whatever, blah, blah, blah. It's going to happen. So, forewarned, it's forearmed. Be ready. It's going to happen. Whether it's in person or on SL, it's going to happen. Now, you will know what it means to break out in a sudden sweat from being asked to possibly freaking out eternally too. No, you didn't. This is why I stress that knowing your correspondences is so vitally important to know. Okay? Know what each of them do, what they bring to your circle, and you know what? You can wing the rest. It's fine. There's no set in stone structure, okay? And if you don't feel comfortable with just winging it, just tell them, hey, I'm gonna wing this. Just let me know. So they'll be fine with it. Likewise, knowing your material before you present during the ritual is the most important part of the preparation of your ritual. Whether you like the ritual or not, you should not let weeks go by and then last minute decide that you're going to wing it. Then you really will be reading it as though you are not sure, and people will be able to hear you are just reading it to them. Okay? It's something you want to avoid. It's not bad. It's just something you want to avoid. You want it to flow. You want that this chi, energy, whatever you want to call it. You just want it to flow. If a ritual is important enough to have, then it is important enough to go ahead through it before you have the ritual. So let me just reiterate that. If it's important enough to have the ritual, then it's important enough to go through the material ahead of time. Waiting last minute does no good. No good. Repetition brings familiarity, and thus you will know the material. Maybe spirit will give you something extra to say and flow into what you're saying, and that happens too. It happens a lot. It happens quite often during rituals where I will have some divine inspiration to bring something up, not in my quote script, but you can't, of course, know that it's going to happen, but it will happen. And if you're anticipating it could happen, then you're ready for it. And don't say, oh, well, I can't go off of my script because, this is what I wrote and I want to stick to it. And no, just let it flow. Let it go. If it happens, it's great. Jumping in is a bad method, as you can see, and not recommended by any means. You need to practice your parts, and so do others. So make it a point of getting your rituals written ahead and share them with your co-participants as soon as possible. Some people actually will do practice rituals once or twice until everyone is comfortable. Reading aloud brings memory retention. Okay, let me try that again. Reading aloud brings memory retention and also brings a memorable effect, according to studies. So don't be scared to do this at home, and remember, when you know your material, you will gain confidence. If not, you just have tongue ties, like, if it is good enough for actors to do, then how much more is it for us? Boom. It's hip to be square. Yes, I took it from the song. Don't judge me. It is really cool to be in the know. Know the platform you are working with. In our case here, we are talking about Second Life, and you know that you can know your material, memorize the lines, but if your mic isn't working and it's not set up correctly, you're doomed. Absolutely. There's a reason our wavy lines have colors. They can change and turn red or green. This is a huge issue when a person does not have their microphone set properly for their voice. People will say things like, ouch, or what did they say? You must be in the green at all times if possible. Seeing red means that you're too loud and means you are now overboard. It gets distorted badly, it creates other people's nerves, yet so many times people still do this, okay? And when they talked about it, they just only apologize. Be courteous and make a small effort to fix the issue. Look at our words of wisdom that cannot be understood. Garbled messages are not clear, and as well-meaning as they are, they might be missed. If you do not have a microphone set yet, or would like to adjust it, please take a moment to do this. If you have Firestorm, it is the same general principle. Please know that this will make you unable to hear me or anyone until you click OK. But if you feel like you need to do this, I'm putting this in here. I'm hoping that you guys don't need to do this right now, but if you do, just let me know and I'll wait. Does anybody need to take care of the microphone settings? Yes, no? No, good. Okay, cool. Alright. When you toggle your microphone on and start speaking, the voice indicator above your head will emit green waves. So that was taken from the SL Wiki and is posted under my sources. Okay. Tips from the pros. What? I went out of my way and I went and found some pros to talk to. Yeah, and I've got their comments just for you. Their little bits of wisdom. They were gracious enough to entertain my request, and I'm forever grateful for their input. So without further ado, let me share them with you directly from their own fingertips. Selena Fox. Everybody knows Selena Fox? She says, speak clearly, enunciate. Speak loud enough that all can hear. Use talking points and or memorize what you will be speaking so that you can make eye contact as much as possible with those around. And then in this pandemic time, learn Zoom. This was about 2 years ago, and we're still in a pandemic. So, Zoom is still a thing. It's actually a hot thing now. Christopher Penzak. We all know Christopher. Got a lot of books under his belt. Christopher says, in general, I think the best advice is to take a deep breath and get out there and do it. Christopher is saying, just do it. Great advice. We will never be perfect, so waiting around till we are will get nothing done. It's kind of like jumping in, but not the same. John Beckett has a blog. Popular dude. He says, Highlight your speaking parts. That will help you to keep your eyes off the paper and know where your part is. That's a super idea that John has, don't you think? Let's see. Okay, we are now at activity part. So, Correllian, let's get a drink because somebody's going to be doing an activity part. So now is the best part of all. You got to listen to the pros and jump in and do it. Don't worry, we aren't here to judge you. We're just here to help each other out, right? This is what this magic tips and tricks is for. So here's the paragraph everyone will say that is brave enough to volunteer to try out these techniques and tips. Keep wanting to say trips. Oh, what happened there? Why is it off the screen? What happened to my screen? Did somebody resize my screen? What's going on with my screen? No, there we go. Alright. I'll post this in chat. Who wants to volunteer? On microphone, of course, so we can hear what you're saying. If you don't...
Teacher, can I come through the board?
You can sit... can you see the board from there? I also put in local chat. If you want to read this with feeling.
Okay, there's nothing up there yet for me.
Check the chat box. Local chat.
Divine Mother, Goddess, hear our prayers of your children. They entrust their deepest wishes and hearts to you. You told us that every act of love is your ritual, dear Mother. We call upon your word and ask that you help us in manifesting that which we are working for this night. Lend your power unto us this night, we pray.
Cool, thank you. Is there anybody else want to try this? Julian, you want to try?
Me?
Yes.
Divine Mother Goddess, hear the prayers of your children. They entrust their deepest wishes and hearts to you. You told us that every act of love is your ritual, dear Mother. We call upon your word and ask that you help us in manifesting that which we are working for this night. Lend your powers unto us this night, we pray.
Very good, thank you. Thank you, guys. Any ladies want to go? Try this? Go ahead.
Divine Mother Goddess, hear the prayers of your children. They entrust their deepest wishes and hearts to you. You told us that every act of love is your ritual, dear Mother. We call upon your word and ask that you help us in manifesting that which we are working for this night. Lend your powers unto us this night, we pray.
Beautiful. You guys can feel the words that they're speaking, yeah? Would anybody else like to try?
I may.
Yes, you may.
Divine Mother Goddess, hear the prayers of your children. We entrust our deepest wishes and hearts to you. You told us that every act of love is your ritual, dear Mother. We call upon your word and ask that you help us in manifesting that which we are working for this night. Lend your powers unto us this night, we pray.
Beautiful. We've got lots of time if you all want to try it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Nobody else is going to try?
I'll go.
Cool, go, Dia.
Divine Mother Goddess, hear the prayers of your children. They entrust their deepest wishes and hearts to you. You told us that every act of love is your ritual, dear Mother. We call upon your word and ask that you help us in manifesting that which we are working for this night. Lend your powers unto us this night, we pray.
Wonderful, thank you, Dia. Can you think about, thank you, Dia. Can you guys think about people you know that maybe do not read this way, where the emotion doesn't come across? Yeah. Okay. So we have our key points now. This is at the close, yeah. Or Gemini says, yes, my husband, you can hear the great text in his words. They could lose emotion, Lydia, but I feel with practice and connecting to that god or goddess or whoever you want to speak to will make that connection and that emotion come forward. Do you agree? I mean, I'm sure there's people who are just maybe medically apathetic or mentally apathetic, but I kind of believe there's hope in everyone with practice. Do you guys agree with that? It should be possible, or? Awesome, sauce. I really appreciate you guys doing this. And here's our key points, and for those who cannot read the board, I will just post them up in the chat. Here are key points that we are coming away with from this class. It is words that you are comfortable with. Let's not use words that are just out of our sphere of vocabulary. If you want to say something plainly, it's fine. Just do it. Because what's important is your intent, not how expensive the words are. Projection. That, of course, is space appropriate. If you're in a small space, do not project so loudly that you kill everybody's ears. Same difference is if you're in a park or a backyard, do not be so quiet that no one can hear you. No shouting or whispering. Try to avoid both. There's a happy middle ground somewhere. Have authority. And with this one, I'm going to give you a note of having authority, if you're definitely ceremonial, is very important because you are calling on spirits that you need to have some control over, because if it gets out of control, it could be not good. So if you're ceremonial, definitely got to speak with authority, and don't let them persuade you to do otherwise. Be energetic, but not overly hyper. Everybody can feel your energy in a circle. You don't want to be really calm unless it calls for it, but you definitely don't want to be over hyper unless it calls for it, because you get hyper and then everyone else feels nervous and hyper too. So try not to project that and pace yourself. If you pace yourself, no one will feel rushed, and no one will feel bored. It's kind of Goldilocks. It's just right, and it takes time. Don't think it doesn't. It takes time to really know what you're doing and be able to pace things. Hold on 1 minute, lady, okay? I'm just going to get through this big old list, and then we're going to do questions and answer time. Okay, we're running. Don't rush. Yeah, don't rush. It's not a race. We're not trying to get anywhere, by rushing ahead and, I mean, yeah, we all want to do the food stuff at the end, right? And the party or whatever. But nobody wants to be rushed. And I'm pretty sure the spirits don't want it either. We want to enjoy as much time as we can with them. That's why at the end we always ask them if they want to stay or they want to go. It's up to them. Of course, we always like them to stay. Proper inflections. Try to make your inflections proper. That will give you that emotion that you need, whatever you're reading. Because if you just read it another way, it's going to change the whole context of what you're trying to bring across. And you'll find this example when you go to text somebody, okay? This is perfect. You go to text somebody on the cell phone and they go, well, what the hell did you mean by that? And you're like, what? What's wrong? And they're like, well, you just said blah, blah, blah. And of course they're taking it the wrong way because there's no inflection. So when you're in a ritual, you definitely want to make sure that your inflection is correct so that they understand what you're trying to get across. Read aloud ahead of time. If you can do this on your own time, do it. It will make it just kind of stick in your head and feel more natural when it comes out. So try and do that. Check your equipment settings. Nothing's worse than being a ritual and your stuff doesn't work. If you check them first, you have a better chance of not having any problems mid-ritual. Create a talking points list. This would be for the ritual creator, the writer.
Can I ask something?
No, not yet. we're gonna finish this list and then I'll do the question and answer. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Create a talking points list so that if you have some certain things you want to say, that you know right off the bat what you want to hit. Because even if you're going into your little inspired by the spirit thing, maybe you still have points you want to hit and you're going to forget once you start letting the influence take over. Especially if you're invoking, which we're not going to talk about here, but if you're doing invoking, you might want to have a nice little talking points list. Very important. You must breathe. And yeah, I know, it's natural, it's involuntary, but guess what? Sometimes we just hold our breath and forget to breathe because we're so nervous. Don't let that happen. It calms you down. Breathe through your nose, out your mouth. Do the 4-4-4 that Lily was presenting to you today, which is something that I guess is kind of new to you guys here at Covenstead, but it's something we used to do on another sim. The 4-4-4 breathing. And just get out there and do it. Never perfect skill, never perfect time. Just do it. Don't go crazy, but don't be afraid to do it as well. Okay, Now, for the moment you've all been waiting for. This is the time for new guests to ask those questions. So let's see. We got our hand raised by Lady M first, and then Lily. So one at a time. You can open your mic, and we'll have a conversation about that. Inflections. Okay, so there's a difference between how women and men speak. Yes, you're aware of that? Lady M? Okay. We tend to speak more in questioning. See how that worked? I didn't even try. Like, well, what do you mean by that? A guy might say, well, what do you mean by that? Do you see the difference in how that's said? So it's how you kind of phrase it. Are you saying, well, I'm kind of curious of what you're saying? Or you say, I'm really curious about what you're saying. Okay, well, I don't have the ability to look at that right now. Let me look. I can look it up on my phone. Inflections. Let's get Google. The mighty Google God. And it's slow. Inflections definition. What does Google say? Grammar. A change in the form of the wording, typically to the ending, to express a grammatical function or attribute, such as tense, mood, person, number, case, and gender. A set of words forming difference only in the respective inflections. Okay? Is that... I'm glad I could get God Google to help us out there. Since I didn't have it formally in my head, I kind of just... Yeah. Okay. Did you have any other questions, Lady M? You're welcome. Thank you for asking. Lily, you're up next. Yeah, Lister, I agree.
I withdraw my question. I'm asked already.
Okay. So see, there is a $50 word, inflections. Inflections. I could have used something simpler, right? And this is a good point to bring up. I should have had a definition for that. So my bad on that one. Okay, I should have used something a little different, maybe tone, to express what I was trying to teach you. So thank you for bringing that to my attention, indirectly or directly. Anyone else have any questions?
I actually have a couple of notes, if I might.
Sure.
On speed, you say not to go too fast. Something to be aware of, too, though. There's different speeds in how people speak. When I deal with folks from the East Coast, New York City particularly, they speak very quickly. If you speak to someone from Birmingham, Alabama, they speak much more languidly. And if you speak too quickly, they feel like you're trying to rush them. So be aware of your audience and their cultural preferences, because what's normal for the Midwest sounds very slow to folks from New York City and the like. The thing on electronic equipment particularly, have a backup system or expect it to fail and have a fallback if your system fails, because we've tested it. We'll test it 3 or 4 times over the course of the day. It all works fine. You get 5 minutes into ritual and the electronics fail, and we have to have a backup because we're doing ritual for 200 plus people in community. And this is more real life, but it happens in Second Life too. Linden server farms sometimes go down and rolling restarts don't roll or restart.
Right.
And the best example of, and the amount of projection, it can be very different from the ritual team of 12 in a room, and when you have the 200 participants you've got all those bodies that mute sounds, so you may find you have to adjust your projection on the fly.
Right.
The best example I ever heard of tone was a ritual that Dolores Ashcroft Nowicki did, where the it was sort of an initiation rite, and he was answering the 42 questions of the assessors. He could only answer yes or no. He'd been given the questions ahead of time and was thinking about them, and they were, have you ever dishonored anyone? Have you ever hurt an animal? I mean, there were 42 of them. He could only answer yes or no, and you could tell so much about what he thought about those answers from his tone. It was a beautiful ritual.
Wow.
Back to my corner.
Was that online or Gemini at all?
Unfortunately, no. It was in a Masonic hall in Denver about 20 years ago, 25 years ago, and I don't think anybody recorded it.
They're not even allowed to record it.
No.
Right.
Well, what you do in the Masonic lodge, if the Masons are doing it, yeah, they don't record it. But if you're renting the hall, because you got to have space, I have to say the wooden floor in the community room made an awesome drum surface. We were using it as a big drum one time. It's great.
Nice. That sounds like it was fun. Thank you. Lister, you raised your hand.
Yeah, I just wanted to, sorry, I don't see my dot going. Can you...
I hear you. Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to remind you to log into your tip jar because you've done a wonderful class today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm sorry, Dia. I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't even think of tips. But honestly, I really like people to donate to the sim. That's okay with you guys. Yes, Dia. I know you've been patient. Thank you for waiting. I'm sorry I missed you.
It's okay. I just want to let people know that if you need help, if you're going to do a ritual, help in a ritual, that Cherry, Ainsley, and I, or even Miss Lily, we're willing to sit with you, and you can practice in front of us or practice. This sim is also a learning sim, and that's what I love about this, because we have a lot of new people that are coming in and maybe have never had to participate in a ritual but wanted to. So I think the important thing too that we want to make sure is that they would get over their jitters, like being afraid to step up and say something as well. So if you had a student that wanted to participate but had a fear of, let's say, standing on, or can't do it in SL, but let's just say they had a fear, what would you recommend as a, as giving this class? If someone that wants to do something but they have a fear of doing it. Sometimes they're afraid of hearing their own voice. Did you ever, you know what I mean? Like, okay, go ahead. I'll let you go. That's all. I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, I hate my own voice personally, but I did what happened to it, so it sounds like it does because I did it. I would just say, let's just do it. I will personally, and this is a guarantee for everyone, I will personally spend every moment I can to let you rehearse, let me be a sounding board. If you want help on my opinions on a ritual, I'm not gonna write it for you, but I will do whatever you need, because we've all been there at the beginning, and we've all been a nervous wreck. I mean, to the point you're sweating, you're shaking, you're turning pale, white. You're not without support on Covenstead. You have a lot of people, like Dee always says, that are seasoned. Do not be afraid. And just come up and do it. It's okay. You can get your hand held 1 or 2 times, and then you don't need it. It's nothing, no shame in getting help. Absolutely.
And you're among friends here.
Mm,
Family, a good kind of family.
chili flakes. Oh gosh. Anyone else? Hannah, you've been really quiet today. Do you have any questions or comments? I'm so sorry. I hope I didn't exacerbate your migraine. I did do some screaming there.
Good examples, though.
Thank you. Jillian, you don't have anything to say. I am surprised.
What?
Okay. Comments from the peanut gallery. Welcome at this time.
Well, we're trying to get through these questions, answers, and I guess comments, apparently.
I'll make a comment.
Yes, please do.
How about, things I advise to my students for how to stand up there and do the part in a ritual. Be sincere. Know why you're there. Know why we're all there. Not to listen to you, but to do these ritual acts like invocation. And keep in mind that you're talking to other than human beings. So you just kind of keep that in mind, and that will help you keep you focused as to what you're doing there, and not go off and wondering how you sound to others. Just think of it as you talking to God or goddess, and others are there to hear it as well. I think maybe doing that kind of tends to help people, keeps you focused, keeps you on track. And when you're busy being on track, then the fear, at some point, you just don't have time for it anymore. You just do it. Anyway, that's the kind of advice I give.
I love that advice. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate everybody's input, because when no one here is an absolute expert at everything, and it takes a huge village like Summerall to get things done. And we're here to support each other, brothers and sisters. So, I want to thank you all for being here today. It means a lot to me that you showed up. Okay, that means a lot to me, trust me. And you participated. If you would be so kind as to fill out the survey that I will put in chat in a minute for me after class, I would love it. And again, thank you and blessed be.
All five.
Yay, thank you.
All five.
And
Thanks,
comments,
Cherry.
you're welcome. Thank you. You have any comments or things you want to say? You could just open mic now and we'll just go at it.
One of the things that helped a lot for me on the projection thing was working, in this case, with field heralds, but people who do sort of professional voice, because projection is, some of it's the tone, the screaming tone thing. You know, people, it's about breath support, how much volume you have, not screaming. And if you can learn the difference, you can actually be quite loud without having that screaming tone.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And there we go.
That's something that might be, it's sometimes easier in real life because somebody can sit there and poke at you and say, hey, use the diaphragm, breathe that way. It's harder to do in Second Life.
And sorry, go ahead.
I wanted to reinforce, who was it? So a pro advice tip for writing, I want to say the dialogue or the spoken portion of rituals, that formatting the that portion and directions. I think that's kind of key. That really helps people to do the work of summonings, of invocations, of calls. Yeah, I think that helps a lot. I forget who said that. Someone said highlight it or boldface it or something like that.
Yes, it was,
John Beckett.
yes, look at her. She's on top of it.
I took notes. Are you
You're
proud
a
of me?
good girl. You're a
Nailed
good
it.
student. You get an extra star.
Yay, gold star for the day. Look at you, honey.
I made notes too. I wrote down all the points that you say, that list of points.
Yes.
Like have authority, blah blah blah, that whole list.
Mhm.
And I need to find the Dutch word for elocution.
Oh.
Okay. Do you want me to go back to that slide at all? Elocution slide?
No, you're fine. I wrote it all down.
All right, awesome.
I have another question, Cherry.
Yes,
Is
ma'am.
there some way, I mean, we have this slide. I think there's a way that you can put this in the library. But along with that, is there a way that you can do a document that kind of like explains each slide to go with?
Would you like the entire class?
For the library, it would be fantastic.
Okay, yeah, I could do
What do you
that.
think,
and-
Ainsley?
That would be awesome.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
would be willing to share your slides.
Yeah, your
Yes.
slides with the
I mean,
thing would be,
yeah.
be awesome.
I'm sorry, I just couldn't see the slides.
You had to click on the board.
Yeah.
Maybe you missed that part.
Cherry,
You might have to set up your media.
Oh, yeah, the media. I really forgot to talk about that because this is a new board for me, too. Sorry.
But yeah, this would be great for other people that come in. You know, they would be able. They say, well, I don't know how to speak in front of people or whatever. Hey, there's a great, you know, thing here in the library you could read and go over. You know, so I think it'd be great. Anyway.
One more note. Thank you for coming. Yes, but also we'll have 3 more classes, and they're not going to be in specifically this topic, but yeah, I have to do 3 more classes, 3 1-hour classes for my 3rd-degree certificate, which I've earned. It's paid for, and I just needed to do these classes. So I hope you.
Yeah, we're gonna be switching off. So this Saturday, so every other Saturday, Cherry will be doing her her classes. It gives her a little time to work on them and get them caught up or whatever. Now that we have this board, but yeah. So this week it'll be coming Saturday will be me, and then it will be Cherry, and we'll just switch off. And it's kind of fun. Also, you know, maybe tips and tricks is for everybody. So hopefully, I mean, we have another friend too that might be stepping into the set. I'm not going to say names or anything yet until we know for sure, but you know.